Meeting of the Metropolitan Planning Commission. I want to wish everybody a happy new year. I hope you had a good holiday. Couple of announcements real quick, if everyone could please silent your phones. And then I don't know if everybody knew this is probably out of order, but we have lost our coach, our Tennessee Titans coach. But I'm excited to see who is potentially going to fill that position. I know that's out of order, I'm sorry. All right. Back to the real business. Item B, which is the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, you've received those agendas prior to the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt? There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Now we're on to item C, which is the approval of the December 14th, 2023 minutes, also sent out prior to the meeting. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted. Now we're on to the recognition of the council members. I do know we have a few new council members, but just so everybody knows, we recognize the council members. Sometimes they have a lot of community meetings. We work with them a lot on planning things, so we like for them to come up and speak in case they have another engagement. And then we allow them to speak during the hearing as well. So, and we take the council members by the first that we see. So I saw Councilman Spain first, and then I saw Councilman Toombs, and then Council Lady Gadd. I always call a lot of the council members by their first name, so it's most of them are friends for a long time. So Councilmember Spain, and make sure the microphone's on. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this afternoon. I'm here on number 21, a proposed zone change on McCory Lane. And I appreciate the commission's consideration of this item and also the staff's work on it. I know there are several members of the Travis Trace community and other areas close by this proposed development that have a lot of questions and concerns that may not have been addressed at this point. And I just want to assure them that this is an early step in the process, that the commission is evaluating whether or not this proposal meets the requirements of the community plan and such, and we'll make a recommendation to the council based on that. But this still has to go before the council to actually be approved. And I've spoken with both the developer and Mr. Vanderpool, the Travis Trace HOA president, and a few others about holding a community meeting there in the area so that the developer can present more details about the plan and try to address any questions or concerns the folks out there may have. And I want them to rest assured that meeting will take place before this ever goes before the council. So with that, I appreciate your consideration and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it very much. Councilor Toombs, come on up. Welcome. Happy New Year.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I actually have 5 items on your agenda today. One has a deferral recommendation, so I'm not going to speak to that one. The other items are 10, 11, 22, and 24. Item 10 would amend the Metro Code to require notice to the district council member for reasonable accommodations granted by the zoning administrator. There have been several large developments in my district that were a surprise to me because they were the result of a reasonable accommodation received from the zoning administrator. It is very difficult as the district council member to be blindsided by projects like that and to get questions from constituents and you have no idea what they're talking about. So this would provide notice to the council member so that at least the district council member can ask questions, get some information, and be knowledgeable and be able to provide that information to constituents. Number 11 is an amendment to an SP. There was a virtual community meeting held last night to discuss this SP amendment. A particular concern to the residents was the allowance of non-owner non-owner occupied short-term rentals on Lot C. Of course, when you're talking about Airbnbs, noise, traffic, lights, and those things, and the property owner / developer was on the call. Actually, one of the owners is a resident on Alice Street, and so they were able to answer residents' questions. Of the residents that were on the call, there weren't any lingering questions, but I know that there were some who were not able to attend and who won't be able to attend today. So as the amendment goes through the legislative process on the council side, as I always am, happy to have additional meetings and facilitate further discussion between the developer and the residents. I feel comfortable moving forward with this SP amendment, and I ask that you approve it. And I sent an email earlier. I don't want to read it verbatim. I know y'all can read. Item number 22 is a request to rezone from R10 to RM15 ANS 2126 Bellafield Avenue. This project is adjacent to a very large SP. It's up to 500 units. It's only allowing 3 more units than the property owner can have by right. Again, if there are any community concerns, those will be addressed at a later community meeting that I'm hosting this month on the 23rd. So I'd ask that you approve that project. And then item number 24 is 4 properties on Monticello Drive for a total of 7 units, which is only 3 more than what the property owner can do by right. And this property backs up to commercial property that is part of a T4 mixed-use corridor land use policy. So I am comfortable with the additional density on Monticello Drive, and I'd ask for your approval for this as well. And this is another project that will be discussed at a community meeting later on this month, and I can address any concerns from community members. I haven't heard any as of yet, but they'll have an opportunity to talk with the developer at that meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Council Lady.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming down. Council Lady Gadd, you're recognized. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chairman, and thank you to my chairperson, Commissioner Gamble. So great to see you. So I'm here specifically, of course, on behalf of District 24, but also agenda item number 3, which is mixed-use proposal on Charlotte Pike. And I believe 2 things I wanted to just mention. First of all, is that I was able to have 2 community meetings, have received feedback from both of those meetings, was very appreciative of staff attending and being present during one of those meetings, and was able to get some feedback that seems to be very supportive with some additional considerations. And I'm really thankful to the development folks that are the developers that are going to work with me on some of those considerations to be considered as part of the SP as an amendment. So we'll likely do some more communications to the district prior to that moving forward. But anyways, just wanted to make sure I let folks know in District 24 that I'll stay in communication, but also to let you all know that I've had a couple of community meetings and haven't received any objections to this. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Council Lady. All right. Any other council members? I want to make sure we got everybody. Okay. I think we got everybody. All right. If others come in, we'll obviously recognize them. So we are now on to item E, items for deferral withdrawal. Go ahead.
Okay, items for deferral withdrawal on our agenda tonight. Starting on page 3 of your agenda, item number 1, 2023 CP 008003, North Nashville Community Plan Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 4, 2023 SP 086001, The Collective. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th meeting. Item number 5, 2023 S123001, Frankie Lee Moore. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th meeting. Item number 6, 2023 S197001, the Vaughn Subdivision. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th meeting. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 8, 2023 CP 003005, Bordeaux, Whites Creek, Haynes Trinity Community Plan Amendment. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th Planning Commission meeting. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 12, 2020 SP 039003, 6001 and 6003 O'Brien Avenue SP Amendment. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th meeting. Item number 13, 2024 SP 003001 Burkett Corner. Staff recommendation is deferred to the March 14th meeting. Item number 14, 2023 NL 002001 1085 Zophie Street. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th Planning Commission meeting. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 18, 2024 Z001 PR 001. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 22nd Planning Commission meeting. And on page 8 of your agenda, item number 23, 2024 Z009 PR 001. Staff recommendation is deferred to the February 8th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Amelia. So, Commissioners, you've heard the items for deferral withdrawal, and I will go through those, and Amelia, make sure I get these correct. The items for deferral or withdrawal are items 1, 4, 5, 6, 8, 12, 13, 14, 18, and 23. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. So, Commissioners, you've heard these items. Is there a motion to defer or withdraw these items? There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and those items are deferred or withdrawn. We're now on to item F, which is the consent agenda, and Amelia is going to take us through that as well. Go ahead.
As noticed to the public, items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. So I will read through all of the items on the tentative consent agenda and ask if anyone is here in opposition. If you are, please raise your hand, and this item will be taken off of the consent agenda and presented in the order they appear on the agenda. If no one is in opposition to this item will be on the consent agenda. Starting on page 3 of the agenda, item number 2, 2023 SP 020001 Solly Drive. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item on page 4 of your agenda, item number 3, 2023 SP 054001 Charlotte Pike Mixed Use. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 7, 2020. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the agenda to be heard. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 9A, 2024 CP 000001 MCSP amendment for Harvest Grove Drive extension removal and the associated case. 9B, 2023 Z110 PR 001. Is anyone here in opposition to these items? These items will be on the consent agenda. Item number 10, 2024 Z001 TX 001. This is a text amendment related to reasonable accommodations. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 11, 2018 SP 082003 Village West SP amendment. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 15, 2023 S180001 Riverside Trace Section 2. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 16, 2023 S189001 Overlook at Aaron's Crest. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the agenda to be heard. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 17, 2023 Z104 PR 001. This is a rezoning along 21st Avenue North. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 19, 2024Z002PR001. This is a request to rezone along Thompson Lane. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the agenda to be heard. Item number 20, 2024Z004PR001. This is a request to rezone along Murfreesboro Pike. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 21, 2024Z005PR001. This is a request to rezone along McCrory Lane. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the agenda to be heard. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 22, 2024Z006PR001. This is a request to rezone along Belfield Avenue. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 24, 2024Z011PR001. This is a request to rezone along Monticello Drive. Is anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. So we'll go back through and read those with the captions and the recommendations. As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. So the items on our consent agenda tonight. Starting on page 3 of your agenda, item number 2, 2023 SP 020001, Solly Drive. This is a request to rezone for property located at 1009 Solly Drive to permit 24 multifamily residential units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 3, 2023 SP 054001, Charlotte Pike Mixed Use. This is a request to rezone from IR to SP for various properties along Charlotte Avenue, Alabama Avenue, 39th and 40th Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 9A, 2024 CP 000001, the MCSP amendment for the Harvest Grove Drive extension removal. This is a request to amend the Major and Collector Street plan to remove a portion of a future Collector Street. Staff recommendation is to approve. In the associated item number 9B, 2023 Z110PR001, this is a request to rezone from AR2A to RM9 NS for property along Mount View Road. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 10, 2024 Z001TX001. This is a request to amend Title 17 of the zoning code related to reasonable accommodations. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 11, 2018 SP 082003, Village West SP amendment. This is a request to amend an SP for properties along Limestone Place, River Pearl Place, and West Trinity Lane. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 15, 2023 S180001, Riverside Trace Section 2. This is a request for a concept plan along Riverside Drive to permit 10 lots. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, including exceptions to sections 3 of the subdivision regulations. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 17, 2023 Z104PR001. This is a request to rezone from R6 to OR20 for property along 21st Avenue. Staff recommendation is disapprove OR20 and approve OR20A. Item number 20, 2024 Z004PR001. This is a request to rezone from CS and AR2A to SP a request to rezone from CS and AR2A to SP zoning for property along Murfreesboro Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 22, 2024 Z006PR001. This is a request to rezone from R10 to RM15A and as for property at 2126 Belfield Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 24, 2024 Z011PR001. This is a request to rezone from RS 7.5 to RM9 ANS for properties along Monticello Drive. Staff recommends approval. And under item H, other business, item number 26, employment contract renewal for Anita McHague and Bob Murphy, an employee contract amendment for Greg Claxton. And item number 30, accept the director's report and approve administrative items.
Thank you, Amelia. Commissioners, under the consent agenda, these would be the items that we pass all together on the consent agenda, and Amelia, make sure I get these correct. That would be items number 2, 3, 9A, 9B, 10, 11, 15, 17, 20, 22, 24, 26, and 30. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the items to pass on the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Thank you, Vice Chair. Motion, second. Second, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and those items are passed on the consent agenda. So that means that we are going to be considering items number 7, 16, 19, and 21, and then we'll have to do business on item number 25 as well. And I did see Council Lady Stiles come in. Oh, she left. Well, very sad. I'm glad she came, though. I'm sure that the staff helped her out. So thank you, Council Lady Stiles, for coming down. All right. So we are on items to be considered. But before we get to that, we are a friendly commission. I just want to remind everybody, we appreciate everybody coming down here. And for some of you, you've been down here before, you're an old pro down here, but for those of you who are new, the process goes like this. We have a presentation from the staff. We'll open the public hearing. The applicant presents for 10 minutes. They have an opportunity to have 2 minutes of the 10 for rebuttal if they don't use the full 10. And then everyone wishing to speak for the project is first. And then secondly, anyone wishing to speak in opposition. You'll line up behind the microphone. Everyone has 2 minutes. You have to state your name and address. We'll go slow. We don't want to leave anybody out. And we really appreciate you coming in. Then the applicant will have a rebuttal. The council member will speak, and then we'll speak. The one thing that we ask you to do is be professional and polite. The things that inspire the commission are your thoughts and ideas, not yelling and clapping and that sort of thing. So logic inspires us in your arguments, so we want to hear them. So that's the process, and we are ready for the presentation on item 7.
Great, thank you, Chair. My name's Logan Elliott, staff planner with the Planning Department, and I'll present item 7 on tonight's agenda. The item is a rezoning request to rezone property from AR2A to CS, and also to rezone property from CS to AR2A, and we'll delineate those on future slides. And staff is recommending to approve the request. So here on the screen, we can see the 2 areas. The area shaded red is proposed to be rezoned from AR2A to CS commercial service. And the triangular piece that's shaded gray is proposed to be rezoned from CS to AR2A. Some history on the site is that in October of 2020, about 3 1/4 acres was rezoned to CS, and that's the piece here at the corner of Old Hickory Boulevard and Andrew Jackson Parkway. Both Old Hickory Boulevard and Andrew Jackson Parkway are arterial boulevards in the Major and Collector Street Plan. And the site here has floodplain and floodway on the site. that's associated with a stream that traverses the area. The lighter blue that covers more of the site is the floodplain, and the darker blue that forms a bit of a line is the floodway. The surrounding area has a mixture of zoning districts. There's multifamily, single family, commercial, and other non-residential zoning districts in this area. The policy applied to the site is conservation policy reflecting the environmental features like the floodplain and the floodway, and then suburban community center closer to the intersection. And suburban community center policy intends to create and enhance suburban community centers that serve surrounding areas generally within a 10 to 20 minute drive. And they contain a mixture of uses. The policy on Old Hickory Boulevard has other suburban community center policy with residential policy as you move away from the Old Hickory Boulevard corridor. And staff's analysis of this request, staff looked at the existing land use on the site, which is a golf range that currently disturbs the majority of the site, including the floodplain and some of the floodway areas. And in response to the existing land use configuration and the proposed zoning request, staff finds that the proposal would be more consistent with the conservation policy and the suburban community center policy, with its intent to remediate environmentally sensitive areas like the floodplain, and that future development of the site would be limited to the portion zoned CS that is more near the intersection and within the suburban community center policy, likely resulting in more of the floodplain returning to natural state, which is consistent with the conservation policy. And the Stormwater Management Manual does permit the disturbance and manipulation of the floodplain boundaries so long as the overall volume is not reduced on the site, so that flooding impacts are not realized, and that there's other requirements with disturbing the floodplain as outlined in that manual. So staff finds that the proposal would likely result in a greater remediation of the environmental features on the site and recommends approval of the request. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan, and we appreciate that. And we'll open this item for public hearing as the applicant come on up. You have 10 minutes, and if you use all the 10 minutes, you don't have a rebuttal time. 2 minutes for rebuttal if you don't use it.
Am I on here?
Go ahead. You recognize.
Okay. I'm Roy Dale with Dale & Associates, and I'm here representing the applicant on this project. This is a golf driving range, as Logan had indicated. He did a very, very good job. There's not much I could really add to what he said, but I will say we had a very large community meeting. We probably had over 100 people at the community meeting. Not anybody was there in opposition to this. It is a golf driving range, which is really a function that is not very friendly to the floodplain from an environmental perspective. It's constantly mowed, fertilized. There's a junk car out in the center of it. So this zone change request, if you looked at the land use policy, you'll notice that the commercial policy actually extends back into the floodplain. And so everywhere that's above the flood elevations is in the commercial policy. And anything that's even 6 inches in the floodplain is in this natural conservation policy. So part of this plan is to actually take part of that commercial policy in the back, lower it, move it to the floodplain, and then basically move that commercial policy to the front where it should be. So when this parcel is developed, it'll have better access along Old Hickory Boulevard. It'll have access points further away from Andrew Jackson Parkway. It'll be a lot safer. And then all that area that's the golf driving range now will return to natural vegetation. It'll be preserved forever, and it'll function in a much higher quality than it does now from a water quality perspective and even from a floodplain perspective. Any grading that occurs here, there cannot be any increase in elevation, or there has to be equal balance of cut and fill. So once this is actually completed, it'll be friendlier to the floodplain and to the environment than it is today. So again, we worked with a council member who was very diligent about this. We had a community meeting. We have a great level of support. I'm not sure, who's here to speak in opposition, but I'll retain 2 minutes maybe if I need that in order to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. Anyone wishing to speak in support Hold on one second. We gotta get to support period. Anybody wishing to speak in support? All right, seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up, sir. Sorry about that. Gotta go through the process. And you have 2 minutes. The timer is right here, and please state your name and address for the record.
Steven Cisco, and I'm a taxpayer on the property in question. I run the driving range. We were the only notice that we got. We did not get a notice on the community meeting where we could raise opposition. Same thing happened 3 years ago when Racetrack tried to buy the property. They rushed through some meetings that nobody knew about and stated that there was no opposition to it. We have hundreds of people who are opposed to this because this is the only open air facility that they can go to. Now, I'd like to go back in a little history. 2010, that floodplain, when they opened up the dams, 4.5 feet of water in that parallel creek spilled into the driving range. It was 4 feet deep, up to the building, up to the fourth step on the building, surrounding the building. And your map shows that that was out of the floodplain. It was still flooded. The other thing about the floodplain itself is we do not put chemicals on the field at all. We fertilize the tee and the putting green, and we do a very light job of that. We don't heavily fertilize like a golf course. The other thing about it is that during the pandemic, we were the only facility, the recreational facility that was open. And I really feel that we have generations of fathers and sons and daughters and mothers who've used this facility. Now, there's a traffic problem right now at Old Hickory Boulevard and Andrew Jackson. It's impossible to turn left at 3:30 in the afternoon going westbound because you have 4 lanes of traffic that are backed up. By adding another business that will have 50 to 75 cars per hour moving in and out of there, it's going to be a access and egress problem.
Thank you, sir.
Is that it?
That's it. That's 2 minutes. Thank you. Ma'am, would you like to speak? Come on up. Everybody gets 2 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
I'm Sandy Cisco. I'm Stephen's wife. We run the driving range. He failed to mention that the driving range sits way down. If you're familiar with Andrew Jackson and Old Hickory, the driving range sits down 20 feet off road level. All that will have to be filled in order to build this gas station. And that's going to be a nightmare. Getting the dirt, getting the fill and everything else to fill it up to road level to Old Hickory Boulevard and Andrew Jackson Parkway. Going to be a nightmare. And I don't know where they're going to get all that fill except from the 13 acres that's there. And we have sinkholes. We have a big sinkhole out in the middle of it, so I don't know. But I just want to say that I know the Bashams really, want to sell the property. I understand that. But we went through this with Racetrack, another gas station, and all the people in the area said, we don't need another gas station. We need the driving range, recreation, something like that. So I'm upset, but I understand it's business, But again, they would have to fill all that in to road level. And that's what they did across the street with Old Hickory where Buffalo Wild Wings is and everything. That took away that floodplain. And that's why all that rushed over to the driving range. We had to move our equipment up on the road because the water was up so high, to the building. It was up where it almost went in the building. So that's all I want to say is you're not being told that all that has to be filled in. And to me, that is not, obviously they're going to have to dig holes. Excuse me, I'm getting confused. They're going to have to dig big holes out in the field to balance the fill that they're putting up near the road. So consider that when you make your judgment. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Anyone else? And for the record, your husband is telling us that it's 10 feet, not 20. Okay. Sounds like a dispute I don't want to get part of. I don't want to be part of that. Okay. It's between 10 and 20 feet. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? All right. Seeing none, rebuttal. 2 minutes.
Could I have the slide before you start counting my time, that shows the property and the land use policies with the blue and the white? It'll help you understand floodplain better. Okay, all right, so I guess this is the current user of the property. I'm here representing the property owner who wants to change the zoning of their property and sell it for another use. If you look at the slide where it shows CS, that's where the driving range building is now. None of that's in the floodplain. Anything that you see in white is not in the floodplain. It sits well below the road, but it's not in the floodplain. So if they want to raise that area, they can do that. It doesn't take any, it doesn't take any fill from any storage from the floodplain. It's not in the floodplain. The area that's going to be altered is the sort of the cross-hatched area there. It probably sits a foot or two in the floodplain. So although this sits well below the road, you're not having to fill this up to the level of Old Trigger Boulevard. So you would not put that much fill on this, and any fill that you do put on it, you have to cut an equal amount out. So I do represent the property owner on this. They're wanting to rezone their property. This meets the land use policy. Planning Commission staff is recommending approval. The council member is very involved in this. We've had a community meeting with over 200 people, and I would encourage you to follow the staff's recommendation and recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't see the council member here. On it? Nope. Council member, we didn't see the council member here. So seeing no one else wish to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And so commissioners, we'll try, since we have 4 cases, we'll start off with a commissioner, and then if you want to be, instead of, asking everybody for their opinion, if you want to be recognized, just let me know. We'll put it on the list. We'll go in order. So Vice Chair, you want to go first, and then we'll see if anybody else wants to speak.
I don't have a ton of comments. I think as the applicant just summed it up, it is the individual's property that's seeking the rezoning. I do struggle a little bit with the idea that a gas station is more consistent with the conservation policy than a driving range, just given a driving range is generally open space. So I'm sympathetic to the owners of the driving range, and I do support retaining open space as much as we can, and I think that in reality the driving range probably does preserve needed recreational space in that area, but I don't have a reason to disapprove it based on the applicant's request.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other discussion from the commissioners? Council Lady.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Chair. I just have a question for planning staff. In the analysis, there's a statement that the project was disapproved at the December 14th, or staff recommended a disapproval. It's kind of confusing. So if you could kind of explain the initial recommendation and why that was changed based on, it looks like the conservation policy, and what the line of thinking was with that.
Yes, staff did publish a disapproval recommendation at the December 14th agenda packet, and after that publication was made, the applicant reached out to staff to share additional information and to basically request that staff further engage in more conversation about what the request would entail and what kind of requirements they would be subject to with the stormwater department. So after that request was made, the application was deferred, and we continued that conversation with the applicant, and essentially the analysis that we gave in the report today on why we're supporting it was the result of that. That basically we found that the proposal would likely result in the majority of the floodplain returning to its natural state where it's currently not, and that the disturbance would be more limited and less to the floodplain with this proposal.
Any other discussion? We are ready for a motion. Oh, Commissioner Henley. Commissioner Henley.
One of the comments that I heard in I guess during the opening remarks were related to the planned return for the area to be more naturalized. But from what I perceive, and maybe there's a clarification, this is a straight rezone, and so I'm not sure if there's any indication as to how that will be mandated or required or documented. And so I'm curious, is there material that's been provided that shows that, or is there just a kind of a secondary stage that probably comes later where that'll be enacted? Because I believe that's something we've discussed. Yeah, sorry, in case folks couldn't hear me. My question was related to some of the comments or remarks that we heard related to the future conditions for the majority of the site, and particularly with it being returned to a more naturalized state. But my understanding is this is a straight rezone for a portion of the property, and so wondering where that might be indicated or memorialized in some way.
Logan?
So you're correct that this is a straight rezone, so we don't have all of those details worked out at this point. I think going forward with any redevelopment of the site, that the property's all under one ownership currently. So with any grading permit application that would be required for a commercial development like this, that would be reviewed and processed by the stormwater department, they would look for the floodplain to be treated as described in the manual, which is typically to leave it in its natural state. So that the stormwater grading permit review process would be the way that the floodplain would get remediated with any future development. But like you said, we don't have all of that information now, and that's why staff's recommendation is that it's likely to result in greater remediation. They could continue to operate as they are as a grandfathered use. So there's no guarantee that necessarily anything happens on the site from planning staff's analysis of the application.
Commissioner, keep going. That's it. Anything else? All right, any other discussion? We'll need a motion. Any other discussion? Motion, Vice Chair? I don't mean to call you out, Vice Chair. Anybody else want to, any other commissioner, or it's?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Commissioner Henley, here we go.
The extremely satisfactory answer I got from Logan. Thank you for that, Logan. I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendation.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second, any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And okay, one opposition from, sorry I asked for the motion, Vice Chair, I didn't mean. Motion passes with 1 no from the Vice Chair. All right, so we are now on to item number 16. You didn't even have to move, Logan. You're back.
Nope. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Logan Elliott, and I'll present item 16 on tonight's agenda. The request is to subdivide into plat 40 lots, and staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions. The site is zoned SP and has an approved final site plan on the site with construction documents reflecting the approved preliminary SP. And the surrounding area has a mixture of single family and SP zoning applied to it, with non-residential zoning existing further to the south on Central Pike. And again, this site has floodplain and floodway on the site at the southern boundary of the portion of the SP that we're looking at today. The policy is suburban with conservation on the environmental features, and because it's within suburban policy, we use Chapter 3 of the subdivision regulations. Additional information for you: in March of last year, 2023, the Planning Commission approved an amendment to the rules and procedures following Metro Council's adoption of a resolution reflecting recent changes to Tennessee state law regarding final plats and the process that they must go through for approval. And the amended state law requires that plats of greater than 25 lots to receive planning commission consideration, even if they've had an approved plan previously. So that's a change in how these kinds of plats are processed. So this case is greater than 25 lots. It's 40 lots. 39 of them are single-family lots, and one lot has 6 townhomes approved on it. And staff found the plat to be consistent with the preliminary SP, with the development plans, and all the technical requirements of a final plat. And here is the plat showing those lots, extending public streets as well to draw their access. And because the request complies with all the technical requirements, staff recommends approval with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. We'll open this item for public hearing. Is the applicant in the room? Come on up. You have 10 minutes and can save 2 of the 10 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roy Dale, Dale & Associates. I guess the state law allows me to waste more of your time. I've never spoken on a final plat before. This is quite unusual. So this was an SP. It was approved, went through the zoning process. The construction plans were completed and approved by planning and all the different agencies. And construction has actually begun on this. Roads are at subgrade, storm drainage is in, water lines are in. So this is just a final plat that meets all the requirements of the perfunctory requirements of planning and all the different agencies of Metro. Everyone's reviewed the plat, added all their comments, and I think the plat's in good order and ready to be submitted. So there's really nothing I can say other than it meets your standards and meets the requirements of the subdivision plat. And I would ask for you to recommend approval of that plat. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay. And we'll save 2 minutes for rebuttal. Anyone wishing to speak in support? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Welcome. And please state your name and address for the record. 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tim Temple. I reside at 852 Regimental Drive in Aaron's Crest. A couple of things within the 2 minutes. First of all, when I was informed with our meeting out in the hallway with this gentleman that all this apparently has been approved by you guys, and we're just up here to do a song and dance to appease somebody, so you're going to get the 2 minutes. I don't know how you guys got this approved, but it was obviously done on the down low because none of us were notified about any of this. The last time we had any sort of a meeting on this was at the public library at least 2 years ago, at which time the developer informed us that he did not want to put in an additional access to this property because he just didn't want to spend the money. This is why we're here. We're not opposed to this neighborhood or whatever. We are opposed to is the only in and out of this is through Aaron's Crest. Aaron's Crest has roughly, let's call it 20 homes in there. And our roads are designed to accommodate that. This is going to add, with basic math, north of 200 additional vehicles. That's before you get to emergency or anything else, not to mention the impact on property value and crime rate. It is insane to assume that our little access is now going to accommodate over 200 additional vehicles. This is obviously why this was all approved in the dead of night. None of us were notified of, in fact, none of us really, I can't say none, almost none of us were notified about this meeting. And had it not been for the one person that got notified that happened to put it on our Facebook page, we wouldn't be here now. This is clearly being snuck in. It is grossly unfair and negligent to the homeowners of Aaron's Crest.
Thank you, sir. Rebuttal? 2 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, there's another person, sorry. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Sorry. Make sure I get everybody. Welcome.
My name is Brian Shorgle. I live at 800 Regimental in the Aaron's Crest. So I think my neighbor did a good job summing up a lot of the concerns. I have similar passion, where I think our neighborhood has a strong opposition to this simply because of the access point. I think in totality, adding another neighborhood is fine, but the access, especially in emergency situations, it's my understanding that when the tornado came through a couple years ago and hit this neighborhood, trees had fallen, homes had blown over, and it was over a week before emergency personnel were able to come in and clear the road. And so without having additional access points with a number of homes going in and additional cars, there's a concern for safety and emergency as well as just general flow of traffic. So that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? I'll make sure I get everybody. Seeing none, 2-minute rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a while since this went through the process. I wasn't involved in that, but planning obviously sends out, and we send out public notices on this. There are actually, it does connect to the subdivision, but there's multiple points of connection, not just one point. So you can see all the roads that were stubbed out to this property, they were stubbed out for a reason, and that was for access. I'm going to deviate for just a second. I know you're not running my clock, but I want to basically congratulate the staff on something. Like on the prior application today, public notices were sent out. I do postcards, I do letters, I do a lot of that myself. And sometimes I go up and complain about it, but those notices are important. And I want to really thank the Planning Commission on this. One of the earlier things I was here speaking on, it was a result of letters and result of a communication with staff and communication back with me. That meeting was conducted with the community, and it was a great meeting, and a lot of positive things happened as a result of that. And so I just want to take this opportunity to thank you guys for what you're doing, because it's very, very, very important. I can't explain what happened here, and we're just going through a subdivision plat. All this other stuff's been approved, and that's all we're asking for. So on this particular application, we would encourage you to support the approval of the subdivision plat. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I don't see the council member. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Before we get started, I appreciate the neighbors coming down. Thank you very much. And we're going to pass it over to legal, because there is a legal explanation for this, and I think that everyone needs to hear it. So our attorney will update us.
Hi, I think that the procedural history, we could probably talk to about the notices that were previously mailed out along the course of the events. This has been going on for some time. There is a recent state law change that basically prohibited the commission from delegating the authority to the commission, to the planning staff for plats over 25. And so what's happened is now those approvals have to come to the planning commission. And now that they come to the planning commission, they've already received approval from planning staff on certain things, and they have vested in the Tennessee Vested Rights Act. And so one of the things that is specific about what is a vested right, what type of plan is a vested right, is a final plat. And a conceptual plan. Lisa and I were talking about it. So as now that they've been vested, this commission can't remove those rights from them.
And Lisa, sorry, Director, go ahead.
One thing I would just say is that has been difficult about the state law is that the initial concept was from 2019, so that would have gone through a whole public process. There would have been lots of discussion. That was the time when this body would have reviewed in public sort of the major elements of the plan. Now that we are required to bring this later step to the commission, I understand the benefits from a public perspective, but I also think it gives an impression to residents that things can be changed. And I think that is what has been hard about this state law, is that I always want the public to feel like their feedback is productive and well received. And it's difficult because of the vesting law. Now the plan is really too far developed for there to be meaningful feedback. But nevertheless, as a result of that law, we do need to hear the case, and we are asking for you to approve it because you approved the initial concept in 2019, and this is where we are. Sorry, Chairman.
I actually misspoke and I said final plat, but it's a subdivision plat, so, so just think, they've already broken ground, they have all their infrastructure in the ground. This has been going on since 2017, and what the law basically says is they have that protection now that can't be taken from them.
Thank you. And Lisa, why don't you take us through just procedurally the project and the dates and all that?
Sure. So this is an SP, and when you have a SP, a specific plan, the preliminary SP acts as the subdivision concept plan. So you're used to probably seeing subdivision concept plans sort of separate than an SP, but in this case, this was a specific plan that featured individual lots as a subdivision. And so the preliminary SP, which was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on May 9th, 2019, acts as the subdivision concept plan. And that was approved, it looks like there was a public hearing. It was on consent. Notice would have been sent to all surrounding property owners in advance. So that was the step in the process where the entitlements were placed on the property. That was the step in the process where the property was rezoned, and it was indicated that it would permit a certain number of single-family lots and a certain number of multifamily units. This development is in two pieces, essentially. There is a creek that runs through, and you can sort of see it along that southern property line. And so this development is sort of in two phases, north of the creek and south of the creek. South of the creek is primarily attached multifamily units, and those take their access from Central Pike. And so then there's the section north of the creek, and that's the part that we're talking about. Once a preliminary SP is approved, in this case, a subdivision concept plan, the next step is a final site plan, and those are the construction documents for the project. Final site plans are administrative reviews. Those are a technical review of all of the construction documents that all of the metro agencies review. So those are reviewed by NDOT, Metro Water Services, Stormwater, sewer, to make sure that all of the infrastructure is in place to serve the development. We, planning staff, are making sure that that is meeting all of the conditions that were required when the preliminary SP was approved, and the preliminary SP is approved by council because it's entitlements. And so preliminary SP is the concept plan, final site plan, those are the construction documents, those are administratively approved. Both of those things have happened. Each of those things is a different trigger point for the state vesting law. Once a concept plan is approved, you are vested for a certain number of years. When you get final site plan approved, it adds more years to how long you are vested in the development. Final plat, which is this last piece, is the last step. Typically, and in the past, as Logan explained, these have been administrative approvals also, as they are technical and we're reviewing them against that which the council and you all have already approved.
Thank you, Lisa. Commissioner Henley, why don't we start with you, and then we'll see if there's any other discussion.
No specific comments following that. I just also do, for the record, recognize that we had even additional recommendations from our parks and greenways. And so when we think about all of the things that are already in place, I think, being able to see our parks and greenways system have some type of input and potential improvement here is a benefit. I know it's quite confusing and challenging to administer for our team, and particularly in this forum, when folks are noticed and come, but with limited information on exactly what that means.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion?
Can I just ask one question? I guess.
Hold on, Vice Chair. Commissioner Leslie, and then we'll get to you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Leslie.
I just want a clarification. I think the gentleman believes that the only ingress into the subdivision is through Abrams Crest Boulevard. But as I understand what you say, it comes in two other ways, not just through that one little narrow street of Abrams Crest.
So this northern part is accessed through Aaron Crest Boulevard. I think there are two. You can see there were two. So when Aaron's Crest was built, there were several stubbed out streets. a couple to the south, at least one to the north, one to the west, and 3 to the east. And so this is connecting to those stubbed out streets that were intended to be extended to continue the road network. So this part north of the creek is accessed from Aaron's Crest. The part of the SP south of the creek, which is primarily multifamily, is accessed from a different street, not Aaron's Crest. So the two pieces of the SP are sort of disconnected by the creek.
So when he says that he believes it will create maybe 200 cars more on through Aaron's Crest, is that?
I don't have the exact traffic generation numbers because all of the sort of traffic study would have been done at the preliminary when it was approved. So I don't have the generation numbers for each lot in this phase.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion from the commissioners? So the public hearing portion is over.
I understand. I think it's important to know that there's only one entrance on to North New Hope.
Thank you. You've already stated.
As long as that's understood, because I think a lot of the council members have been tossing that idea around. That's
Thank you.
Entirely understood.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll need a motion. May I make a motion?
I'll make a
Vice Chair.
motion to approve staff's recommendation.
It's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Tibbs. Commissioner Tibbs.
Sorry.
There we go.
Yes. Is this included as far as the staff recommendations?
Logan?
The Metro Parks Greenways recommendation?
I think so. Let's ask Logan.
Yes, you should have a memo in front of you, and if you don't.
So we don't need to, that doesn't need to be made in the motion?
I will make a motion to approve staff's recommendation with all conditions.
Gotcha.
Including the memorandum condition
Including this.
from Parks. That's a proper motion and second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. It's up. Thank you, sir. So when I was speaking earlier, we talked about professionalism. We talked about respect, and that's not a way to be professional or respectful. What inspires commissioners is arguments and politeness, and sometimes our hands are tied because of the law. So I appreciate everybody being respectful. All right, we are now on to, and by the way, just so everybody knows, we're all volunteers other than the staff. We do this on our own time, helping the city. Look, a lot of times we have a lot of people that disagree with stuff. We are really trying to help the community and do as much as we can. So the commissioners are compassionate. They love the city. I know all of them very well. And the council members, same way. They love the city. We do all we can. So I just say all that because I know tempers can flare, and we are trying the best that we can. So we are now on to the third item that we're hearing, item number 19. Hi, Donald, you're up.
Good afternoon. I'm Donald Anthony with the Planning Department, and this is item number 19 on your agenda. The request is to rezone a 2.2 acre property at 99 Thompson Lane from R10 to OR 20ANS. Staff recommends approval of this request. The property is currently zoned 1 and 2 family residential, or R10. The property is also in the Airport Impact Overlay District, the I-440 Impact Overlay District, and the Urban Zoning Overlay. Adjacent zoning includes a mix of SP, RS10, and OL. A mix of residential, office, and commercial land uses are present in the area. The adjacent properties on the south are both currently occupied by single-family residences. The subject property has frontage on 3 sides: Thompson Lane on the north, Dobbs Avenue on the west, and Wingate Avenue on the east. The site lies in the South Nashville Community Planning Area, and the applicable policy is transition. The transition policy is intended to enhance and create areas that can serve as transitions between higher intensity uses or major thoroughfares and lower density residential neighborhoods while providing opportunities for small scale offices and/or residential development. The subject property is part of a transition area that runs along the Thompson Lane corridor from near Simmons Avenue on the west to near Mashburn Road on the east. Staff evaluated the rezoning request to determine its consistency with the transition policy. The proposed OR 20A NS zoning would provide a transition between the Thompson Lane corridor and the residential properties on the south. It would permit a mix of uses, including offices, institutional uses, educational uses, and residential, with densities of up to 20 units per acre. And it would provide a variety of housing types. All of those things are consistent with the TR policy. And so because of that consistency with the transition policy, staff recommends approval of this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. We'll open this item for public hearing. Is the applicant in the room? Come on up.
I'm helping the applicant. I'm Richard Connors, 6323 East Valley Road. And I've been helping the owner since he purchased the property. It used to be a church, Wingate Church of Christ, and they dissolved. And so we have been working together. We've talked to Jenny, the council person, and we trying to figure out what was best for the community. And we thought coffee shops, retail type uses. Then when we found out, we tried to get CS zoning and not change anything, use the existing building and not and Jenny said no gas stations or fast food. So we had that, saying we weren't going to do that. And so we tried to do an application with CS zoning to get the coffee shops and dry cleaners and that such. And we were turned down because it's not CS approved. So we went with this zoning now, RO20, and right now we using the existing church for a church. We have a couple tenants that would like to go into the office, so that's why we're asking for approval on the office. And and so the goal is to occupy what we have now and no changes in the near future. And the other was a religious base, so all our tenants had to be kind of religious based. So that's another reason we wanted to rezone to our OR20 and no short-term rentals. So, and we have no plans to do any existing construction except cleaning up the property, restriping it, and utilizing what's existing.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Anything else from y'all?
Well, there was an issue about the cars being parked on the parking lot, and Matt, the owner, thought it was okay because they weren't going to be leased. They were people picking up and they were parking them. Owners were going to pick up the car and then drive off, and then it was kind of a drop-off spot. And so he got a letter saying remove them, and we've removed all the cars, and so we understand that we can't do that, so that has been resolved. If there's, we got pictures to prove it, and then the lease that we had was a 30-day lease and canceled in 30 days in case we needed extra parking, and so if there's any issue, we could stop it. So okay. They moved out.
Yeah, I want to add that there's a new concept called they lease the Tesla cars. They put the parking like 20 cars. And you can go to the website and lease, and you can pick up your car. There's no agent or no one's there. So as soon as I find out I cannot, it's not the current zoning is not allowed, we remove the car immediately and we cancel the lease. Okay. So I just want to tell the neighborhood here too. I have no intention to do car lot. We want to utilize the existing building with the real estate office, health, chiropractor, dentist office. The service can provide the neighborhood, improve the neighborhood, not the trash neighborhood. So that's one I added.
Thank you. We'll save 2 minutes for rebuttal. Anyone wishing to speak in support? Anyone wishing to anybody in support? Let's make sure. Okay. Seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right. Now you can come in. Okay. And it's 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the.
Claude Koch, Nace Drive, 124 Nace Drive, and thank you for y'all's service that you do and volunteer help. I've been in this neighborhood for over 60 years, and you can look at that map and see it's residential. Every one of these people in Woodbines is probably over 80 years of age. That's why they're not here. The reason why they're not here is because our council person got reelected and thinks she's above it. We need to show these council people that we elect has to be involved with the community and let them know that this is what's going on. Your constituents needs to be heard. And she's not listening to us. She doesn't even have the meetings. She does not care about what's going on in her district. Now that she's reelected, she knows she don't have to worry with it. From what this man has told you, from the size of that one little office building they're going to lease, what needs to be in this thing is that we can't put cars there. There were cars there because we're here. That's how we found out about these cars were everywhere on this lot. Then he got a letter saying they got to go because him and Jeannie are in the same room saying it's okay. The people in my district, I'm their boss. I don't have to report to them. And this is what's going on. And we've got to stop these things for our neighborhoods. And across the street, $500,000 homes is going to be looking across the street at this. Why would somebody move there for $500,000 to look at a car lot? He's telling you now, this is not what we're going to do. But this is the beginning of what they're going to do. That's how they get in the door. And it's up to you people that represents us also to have a clear and view for us because our council person is not listening to us. And I hope that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Wilson. I live in the neighborhood. I don't live adjacent to the property, but I live in an area that, Nolensville Road area that is already overrun with car lots. And so when we saw these 36 cars show up with a logo on one of them that's Resla, RESLA.com, and we looked into that, it is a Tesla rental company. And yes, they do just go there and pick up their car, something like a Turo. We're concerned that any future change in this zoning might include the ability to change it to a car lot. Other than that, the items that they have mentioned that they want to do are wonderful for our neighborhood. It's just that one issue that we need to protect. And I think it's important that we look at anything that might have an impact on that going forward. And if we can't get an answer today, maybe we should defer this to another meeting. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Ken Wilson. I live at 101 Vaden Drive. And I think the neighborhood and neighbors were all pretty much in agreement that the new zoning would be appropriate until we started seeing a rental car company on the property. This isn't a rental car company like you and I have mostly dealt with, like going to get a U-Haul where you sign papers and deal with people, or at the airport. This is a new kind of rental car company that might skirt the provisions of this zoning. And we're unable to get an answer of whether or not it does skirt the zoning. Our council member is out on medical leave. The council member at large who was helping us with this is not here today. So we're wanting clarification. We don't want a rental car lot on this property in any shape or form, however it's designed. So I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Next. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Daniel Kremen. I live at 2905 Dobbs Avenue. I'm actually in this image to the bottom left, on the corner there, right across the street on Dobbs Avenue. I'm a longtime Nashvilleian and architect, and I have a little bit of history with how some of this works, and it causes a little bit of concern. I've had the benefit of talking with Ginny Welsh and also Mehmet to get both sides of the story. My concern comes with the rezoning to OR. As you can see on the parcel map, this is the deepest insertion of land of this size into the neighborhood compared to some of the other office zonings on Thompson Lane. My request, and we could have potentially had this conversation if we had a community meeting with the neighborhood, but we didn't get a chance to have one. My request would be to possibly consider an SP. There's precedent for this across the street. The $500,000 homes that you're talking about are right there in the image across the street, an SP plan along with the property to the right. I feel like this could benefit us being engaged, having an idea of what this property is going to do for stormwater management, lighting. I'm not opposed to density. I just think right now, maybe the intentions are okay with what the property is going to be using the existing church, but what this does in this rezone opens up to too much unknown in the future, 5 to 10 years down the road. So I would love to potentially discuss an SP, have a community meeting, and have this meeting again down the road when we do rezone, because I do think adding density and adding life to the neighborhood would be really good for residents, not office space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi. I'm a little shorter. We'll move this down. I'm Sherry McCall. I'm the Glen Cliff Neighborhood Group President. I've been that for the most of the last 10 years. I live on Wingate Avenue in the Tuggle neighborhood there, and the church is just a few houses down. First of all, I want to thank you all very much for allowing us this opportunity to speak with you all tonight about this, what we feel like is a problem. Mr. A was, he owns 3 other businesses in Davidson County, so he should be well aware of what the codes and the zoning laws are. Yet even before this hearing, without respect to the law or to you or to the community, he moved vehicles right onto the lot, knowing that it was zoned residential. This gives us a clear idea that his intent to use the lot as a rental lot or to use it for any vehicles, rental, sales, whatever, was something that he had already decided even before he got here and had any kind of a zoning change. We don't want to see any more car lots. If you've been to South Nashville, you know we have a plethora of car lots and tire lots where owners have been arrested for racketeering and laundering money. We don't want to see that kind of thing in our neighborhood. Personally, I would love to see this entire lot mowed down and density put in with homes for families. I don't have a problem with families. We have the problem with, as everyone else has said, if cars are put on this lot, and he can say what he wants to say, we've done this with developers before, doesn't mean anything, and you know it doesn't mean anything, it's just words. If he puts cars on this lot, we're concerned with the possibility of it being grandfathered into car lots, and that happens overnight in our neighborhood. We're looking to put in coffee shops, dry cleanings, things that the people in the community could benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Come on up. Welcome.
Oh, yeah, don't forget those. Hello, my name is Tony Davidson. I live at 128 McCall Street. Just wanted to say this has been a great experience. It's my first time coming down to a hearing like this. I think my neighbors have done a pretty good job of explaining the majority of our concerns. I too am also for density and building up residential homes, maybe a coffee shop. I think that sounds like a great idea, but none of this was even brought, like there were no notices, there was no, those cars just showed up overnight. But I think that we would love to have a community meeting with Mr. Aladas, is that how I say it? Yeah, we would love to work with him and work in the neighborhood to come up with a solution that works for everybody, to where his building can be successful and we can have a great neighborhood. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next. Welcome.
Hey there, Twanachik, Cane Ridge Road. I had the pleasure of working up and down Nolensville Road as a Metro police officer for many years, and up and down Nolensville, we had lots of theft from motor vehicles at the car lots. They tend to not have security that they need, and what we're learning in this year is that our new developments coming into my area also don't have sufficient security. If it's not planned and thought of on the front end, then we're asking for some really high-priced batteries being parked in vehicles in a space that will make them, in my opinion, probably a target for some theft. So I think that that kind of thing needs to be considered. There need to be great security plans. I also would have concern about trucks being parked there if it's not going to be monitored and there's going to be basically a do-it-by card type thing where you're renting vehicles and there's nobody there to make sure that the oversized trucks don't park there. The other oddball concern I have is that my last visit to Wingate was trying to track down cemetery information for a cemetery that got moved on Bell Road down close to Blue Hole, the Thompson Cemetery, I believe it was. And those records exist within the church. We've also had that experience at Olive Branch Church when it moved, that the record keeper of the cemeteries didn't get those records transferred over, and we've had to work with Metro Historical on some of that. So I'd ask that that sort of thing be considered as well. And then finally, I just want to say I travel up and down Thompson Lane pretty regularly, and the traffic through there is pretty difficult to cross in and out of the traffic lanes and across the two lanes and then the center turn lane to go the other direction, and I-24 is always backed up. So there should be some consideration given to some really nice traffic calming designs there that would limit the egress and egress to this to a manageable location. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up. Welcome.
Laura Kelly, I live at 3001 Dobbs, which is 3 very short blocks from this location. I would like to submit these pictures.
And those to Donald, to the team. Thank you.
This is what the lot looked like when we had 30-something Teslas parked on it, and we are afraid, because we've learned. I'm a past president of the neighborhood association, and we have learned that if a property has been rented to a car lot and it gets sold, it can be grandfathered in and be a car lot. And we are tired of being the joke of the city with all the car lots in the neighborhood. So I would really, as others have said, prefer this to be an SP zoning and give us some say as to what can be done with the lot, and have a public hearing and let us have some say, because our council person doesn't care to give it to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Waylon McInturf. I live at 92 J Street. I'd just like to thank you all. I think it's a lot to listen to people's arguments and grievances all the time. So I appreciate what you do for the city. I just want to second everything the neighbors have said. I just think that special consideration should be taken, especially in our neighborhood, because we have so many car lots and tire lots. I would love to see it rezoned and have nice housing and coffee shops and other business put in there. But I think that because this juts so far into the residences that, we really should have a say of what types of businesses are put into our community if we're going to evolve at the same level of other neighborhoods in Nashville. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll make sure we get everybody. All right, seeing none, 2-minute rebuttal. If we get the timer.
I'd like to inform my neighbors that this is a plan of the church. We have 30 rooms. Century Park, we already released the church. So we try to utilize those rooms, space. But everybody focused that the Tesla car was temporarily, was my mistake, we removed it. And everybody should know OR20 does not allow
Sir, if you just need to address the chair.
Yeah. OR20 does not allow for car lots. Everybody say car lot, car lot. This property, if you even turn OR20, they cannot be car lot. It has to be CS. And there will be no car lot be operating there. It will be office, residential. I just want to clarify that, everybody comes to say car lot. My main goal is turn office residential, utilize those 30 rooms for the chiropractor, dentist, real estate office, anybody need office use in neighborhood or surrounding, they can come rent it and use it. That's the main goal. Thank you.
Thank you. The council member isn't here, so seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And just a brief statement, we're in a much different position. It's not a subdivision, it's rezoning. So we'll discuss, we're in a much different position than the last case, just so y'all know. And so Commissioner Tibbs, you want to start us off and then we'll go from there.
Yes, actually the applicant kind of answered it, but just for the record one more time, exactly about what can be allowed. We've heard the sensitivity of the car lot, so just for the record.
So the OR20 zone is designed for office and residential use, thus the name office residential. Vehicular sales, vehicular service, and vehicle rental are not on the list of permitted uses. We looked at the zoning chart earlier, and none of those are on the list of uses that would be permitted there. Really, very few, if any, commercial type uses would be permitted at all in the OR20 zone.
Okay, thank you very much. But I still like to have a discussion about a potential deferral for this. In the fact that I don't know if you can tell me about the council date, but having lived in this neighborhood, I do know the sensitivity, well, first of what the neighbors talk about the car lots, but also it's a neighborhood that definitely hasn't probably evolved as much as some of the other neighborhoods and communities. And I know that the neighbors are very passionate about this. So here is an incredible lot, incredible location. I don't know about the public meeting, but it seems like they could be very opportunistic. Actually, a lot of things that you said, the applicant said, was repeated by the neighbors. So it feels like it could be a good opportunity for rallying around and actually encouragement for what the applicant is trying to do. So I will, of course, wait for my other fellow commissioners to weigh in on it. But if it was possible for the date, it seems like that would be very, it'd be a very good idea for this neighborhood to have that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think a question following up, has it been filed? Can you give us so we can see how long we can defer it?
Sure. So typically, there is no zoning, there is no legislation that's been filed, but I will sort of point out that once the Planning Commission makes a recommendation, or if you do make a recommendation, that there is typically a good bit of time between the point when you all make a recommendation when it actually gets to council. And so there's oftentimes sort of between what you do and what they do. So there's not a bill, and if it was to stay on track, it would get to public hearing.
And so, Commissioners, with that, thank you, Lisa. And with that said, maybe, potentially a 2-meeting deferral.
Yeah, like a 2-meeting deferral. I think that'll be good. And I think it'd be good for this body to request that of the...
with the intent for the neighbors to talk with the
exactly.
developer.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion?
Well, I had a
Vice Chair.
question.
Yeah.
I am interested in the idea suggested by one of the neighbors that this is a good candidate for a specific plan. And I do think when we talk about transition and into this kind of a residential, low-density residential area, no less, some kind of careful planning would make a lot of sense. So I guess deferral can leave that open, but I would like to explore whether in that deferral process, if we think a specific plan would be a better option than a straight rezone.
Thank you, Vice Chair. That's a good suggestion. So I think to the developer, that's a thing to discuss with the staff. And then I think you're hearing from us that a meeting with the neighbors would be very beneficial. Council Lady.
Thank you, Chair. Just one clarification. It was stated that there were concerns that the storing of cars could skirt the land use. If we can just speak to if if the current OG or the requested zoning would allow any storage of cars or anything on that lot, just to confirm that.
It doesn't permit auto-oriented uses, so it does not permit car rental, car sales, used, new, car repair, car servicing, none of
Or
those
storage.
uses. No, automobile parking is generally a permitted use in most office and commercial, because you generally have like parking with it. So automobile parking is permitted, but not rental, sales, service, any of those things.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leslie, you're next.
On that note, they were concerned about whether, if that was done illegally, could that be grandfathered in?
You can't grandfather an illegal use. The grandfathering laws or non-conforming use laws are for legal uses that are made illegal by a zoning action. So in other words, if you have a gas station and then that area is zoned residential, the gas station was under commercial and it was legal, it is allowed to continue to operate because it was made illegal by a government action. So a illegal use cannot be grandfathered in.
Good clarification. Commissioner
Marshall. Just for clarification, so if we moved for a deferral, that wouldn't get approved through council before those meetings could happen, correct?
Yes, sir. The council, the bill's not filed, and then I know our council representative wouldn't let that happen, and it doesn't happen. We have to act first. We have to give a recommendation. So on rezonings, we have to give a recommendation to the council, then it goes to the council. Great question. All right, any other discussion? Maybe Commissioner Tibbs, a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for a 2-meeting deferral.
That's a problem.
With also the recommendation for look for a potential reuse. Is that the right thing for the reuse for the lot as opposed to just a straight zone as part of that for the planning staff?
That's a proper motion. Any other discussion? No, seeing no other discussion, all in favor of 2-meeting deferral, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and 2-meeting deferral. And thank you, neighbors, for coming down. All right, we are now, and if, so we still have other business. If everybody could try to exit quietly, we really appreciate it. Thank you. So now we are on to item 21.
Selena Koenigstein with the Planning Department presenting item 21. The request is to rezone property located at 7946 and 7948 McCrory Lane from AR2A to RS10. Staff's recommendation is to approve. The 22.93 acre site is comprised of 2 parcels. The larger parcel has 1 house, while the smaller one is vacant rural land. Surrounding land uses consist of single-family residential and vacant land. The proposed RS10 zoning district requires a minimum of 10,000 square foot lots and is intended for single-family dwellings at a density of 3.7 dwelling units per acre. Surrounding zoning districts include RS10, RS20, AR2A, and R10. There are 2 policies on this site, suburban neighborhood maintenance and conservation. The neighborhood maintenance policy is intended to maintain the general character of developed suburban residential neighborhoods, and conservation is intended to preserve environmentally sensitive land features through protection and remediation. And on this site, there are some slopes and a stream running through in green. So the proposed RS10 zoning district is consistent with the goals of the neighborhood maintenance and conservation policies. Any future subdivisions would be required to comply with the zoning and subdivision regulations. This would require a separate review process and would go through the public hearing process. This site is also subject to conservation development. And so for these reasons, staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much. We'll open this item for public hearing, and is the applicant in the room? Come on up. You have 10 minutes and can save 2 of the 10 minutes for rebuttal.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Justin Koziel. I'm the developer for the project. I just wanted to echo the councilperson's earlier comments and say that while we have spoken with some members of the community, both the president and the vice president of the adjacent HOA, we do plan to have additional meetings with the neighborhood between this meeting and any submittal to the city council. So I just wanted to mention that and let you all know that we're planning on doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, and then we'll save 2 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anyone in the room that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Welcome. State your name, 2 minutes, name and address for the record.
Good evening, my name is Andres Victoria. I am the owner of 8508 Beautiful Valley Drive. I am a teacher. I was the fifth grade math teacher and advisor of Commissioner Tips. So I need your help. We have several concerns about how this project is going to affect the neighborhood in Travis Trace on Beautiful Valley Drive. There are many reasons for this. And I want to tell you that the vice president and president of the homeowner association do not speak for the community. We need to have a wider conversation about what is going on here. I will urge you to defer this until later time so we can have more information and we can have more facts about how it is going to impact us. My main concern is that the lot that the developer is trying to use from Beautiful Valley Drive is exactly beside my house. In between that driveway and my house, that is in between a retention pond and my house. Initially, that lot was going to be a house to be built there. Metro denied the building of the house over there because there is no space. Now, if you want to put an entryway from this new development on that house, that puts in direct danger my property and the people coming in and out is just not a space to have a curve there. So I have absolutely would like to deny any access to this project from Beautiful Valley Drive. Now, talking about the development, there is a buffer. It is a forest over there that is preventing erosion, and we have a very steep backyards that if that forest is gone, we're going to have a lot of water that's going to come fast and furious, and it's going to attend to our property. So please help us over here. We need to defer this. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Welcome.
I have pictures that I can, who did I get those?
Yeah, give them to Selena. And then we'll put them in the record. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Richard. I live at 1213 Beautiful Valley Court. I'm not part of Travis Trace. I'm actually part of Boone Trace, which is the adjacent to the property that they're talking about here. My house is the second house on the left in the court. And from the pictures that I have submitted to you, just to let you know what he was talking about as well, is that there is a detention pond that's right there. They did not have enough space to put a house from Jones Company when they built that, so they left that little space open because the detention pond ended up being quite large to be able to hold all the water that comes off from about 40 different homes. As he was suggesting as well, there are some deep slopes that come off of that area. It's a beautiful piece of property. There's a lot of wildlife there. We have eagles. There is a cave on the property as well. And from a historian, a Bellevue historian also let me know about 20 years ago, there is a Indian burial mound on that property as well. So there's a lot of rich history that's there. And of course, it would be a beautiful piece of property for a home. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of factors that need to go into place when we're considering what's going to go there. Again, the runoff issue is a huge impact for us. And then also the buffer between the homes that are back there as well. So just any consideration, if we could have it deferred until we could have a meeting with the developer to see what exactly is planned for that area. Again, it's just a tiny little space for a road to come into off of Beautiful Valley Drive. Don't recommend that whatsoever. It needs to come off of Macquarie Lane if all possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Johnny Vanderpool. I reside at 1616 Lampwick Court. I do live in the Travis Trace community, and I also serve as the HOA president. I sort of want to go on record that I think in late November the community became aware that the homeowners the landowners were wanting to rezone this property. And then somewhere around the middle of December, I received some communication from our Councilman Spain, who just recently joined the council, and we had a meeting with him as well as the developer that spoke in approval for this tonight. That meeting actually took place on the 20th, so it was very close proximity to the Christmas holidays. I think there's a couple of things to keep in mind is that some of my neighbors have expressed concern, and I think there is some concern about where the actual entryway to this property is going to make it, where it's going to actually, the developer wants to come onto that. It's not really into question tonight with this planning. So I've learned a lot tonight. I really appreciate your guys' service and what you do here. So one of the things what I'd like to do is see, at the very least, could the commission defer this and give us an opportunity to meet with the developer and learn a little bit more about this. I think there's a lot of questions to be answered, and that might be a great opportunity where the homeowners could at least get together and speak with the developer and the builder so we can learn a little bit more about it. I know there's some concern specifically around the retention pond, as well as them taking a lot that was destined to be a home and then turning that into an entryway, literally a road. So I think there's really some concern on that piece. So could the commission at least defer this and give us a little bit of time to meet with with the builder and discuss this in a more thorough fashion? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If y'all, maybe we could line up and that way we go through it quickly. Thank you. Come on up. Line up.
Hi, my name is Donna Peeler Ballantyne. I live at 8524 Beautiful Valley Drive. I've been a resident in this community for about 5 years. Currently, we have about 150 plus homes that have one entryway and one exit, and that is Macquarie Lane. This proposal is to bring even more traffic in on Beautiful Valley Drive, which is really not built for additional traffic. We have cut-throughs that go to Boone Trace, that go over to Lexington Point, and even Riverwalk subdivision, and people use that as a cut-through to get over to Macquarie Lane. It's become incredibly difficult to come out of our neighborhood as it is today and turn left onto Macquarie Lane. There's tons of dump trucks, there's lots of things going on Macquarie Lane, and it's just a little two-lane street. So I'm very concerned about putting 80 plus additional homes back there and having the entry in on Beautiful Valley Drive. If the entrance could be off of Macquarie Lane, that is possible. I'm also concerned with the value of our property. The homes in the area are anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 homes. And the developer is a developer of what is described as modular home buildings, rapid construction of sustainable habitats. So to me, that sounds like modular home building, which is what it says. And I'm concerned how that will affect our property values going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Welcome.
I'm Janet Rowenzak. I'm at 8556 Beautiful Valley Drive. And I'm okay with building back there, but I do think you need to defer this because we need to be able to talk. All the neighbors and everything need to get together because there's a lot of water that does run off of this neighborhood. And all of our houses are really tight right now with, there's 10 feet between some of them. And we've got high-pitched roofs, so there's a lot of water coming into 10 feet between our houses now. And all these are gonna back up to us. And all this water they were talking about that runs off into the detention pond, it sits there for a little bit, but of course it goes on out, but it fills up. So I do believe that when they come in and clear all this out during construction this time, because last time when they did it, all the water kind of ran through our streets. Flooded our streets, and this time it would probably do the same thing, I would imagine, because nothing would have been changed. And if they cut down all the trees back there, he said that he wouldn't have to cut down the trees because they do solar. But they'll have to cut down the trees to get the solar light, right? I mean, how do you get solar light with trees everywhere? I don't understand that. So my point, I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but the point is, I'm not against construction back there and everything, but I do feel like if they're going to do this, we all need to have more information about it because nobody knows anything about the company, about what he wants to do. So I feel like it should be deferred.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, the council member already, rebuttal. I'm sorry, 2 minutes. Getting ahead of myself.
I'll just try and address a couple of the points really quickly. In terms of the rainwater management, during the subdivision process, we will of course work with Metro and input the proper rainwater retention infrastructure onto the site. We won't be using or plan to use the existing rainwater retention pond that's on the subdivision just south of us. So as part of the subdivision process, we will of course address that. And in terms of access, it's actually kind of an odd lot because there's a ravine that runs through the middle of it, and we plan to build on the easterly part of the property. And the property as it sits now is almost entirely landlocked. The only way to really access it, other than building a bridge over a sensitive ecological area, is to go through that lot there. And as I understand it, the developers of the subdivision just south of us had eyes on potentially developing the property to the north, or the property that we're looking at, and never pulled the trigger and left some land available to access it in the future. And we're simply trying to fill in what was already planned to happen in the past. And additionally, the RS10 zone, you could see the property is completely surrounded by other RS10 property. There's a lot of much more dense development going on McCrory Lane and in the surrounding area. All we're asking is to simply build what basically exists in the surrounding area. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The councilman's not here, so seeing no one else wish to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And Commissioner Leslie, you want to start us off?
Actually, I have no questions.
Okay, how about,
Yeah.
all right, Commissioner Henley, how about Commissioner Henley start us off? He's a veteran.
Happy to do so. So a couple things that stood out to me. I think, again, we're hearing a lot about, I guess, a perceived entry point, but that's not being dictated or presented to us here. But I do think it might be worth clarification around the process for determining that, working with NDOT and because I feel like I understand the community's concern. If you know the area, you feel as if this is the entry point, but I think there are other factors that are at play that might be worth educating folks on.
Sure, so I'm going to repeat it. I think it was a little bit quiet. You were asking about decision-making on access, ingress, egress, entry points. So the process to develop a subdivision is multiple steps. What you're being asked to look at and consider tonight is a rezoning, and so we are not reviewing any sort of specific plan or any plan for the property that shows where the ingress and egress takes place. So if this was to be rezoned, then there would be a subdivision process where a concept plan is created, and there would be another public hearing to consider that concept plan. And at that time, NDOT would be involved in looking at where NDOT and planning would be involved in looking at where the access is and how lots are laid out and where the streets are located. And so this is sort of just step one, but we don't have any plans to consider or review right now.
And so Lisa, the decision before the commission isn't being weighed against the subregs, it's being weighed against the policy. And so that's what our advice would be in terms of how to weigh this application.
Yes, sorry, and we outlined that, Selena outlined that in the analysis. For this is an entitlement process. This is sort of the first step. This is a request to get the zoning to be consistent with sort of other zonings in the area where the policy is neighborhood maintenance, and so we would expect that zoning would be sort of generally consistent, and the subdivision to the south is zoned RS10.
And no, my other comment, which I think is in the same vein, thank you for that, Lisa, is, we heard some comments about this and just knowing where we are, being along the river and as well as being directly across from a cemetery, ecological and archaeological concerns are going to be considered during that process as well.
It's likely, based on a very quick analysis, it's likely that this property would be subject to the conservation subdivision standards, given the amount of tree cover, sensitive features, if there are any sort of archaeological finds on the site. But based on our initial review, we do believe that it would be subject to those conservation subdivision regulations at the time when a conservation comes in. The property that's to the south was developed as a cluster lot subdivision, which, as you all know, is no longer an option in the code. So, but we do believe that the property would be subject to conservation, which would take those things into account.
Thank you, Chair. Those conclude my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Henley. Any other discussion? Council Lady.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment, and I appreciate all of the comments that we've heard from the community about this particular project. It sounds like there was a community meeting, and the council member expressed that he intends, as well as the developer expressed that they intend to have additional community meetings to address any questions or concerns regarding this prior to the bill coming to the council level. So for that reason, I'm comfortable moving forward with this today. But just wanted to put that on the record that that the council member as well as the developer have committed to additional community meetings to make sure that the community is aware and can provide input on those things like water and ingress, egress, and those type of things. So just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Council Lady. Any other discussion? Vice Chair?
Is a council bill already filed?
No.
No. I was contemplating whether a deferral made sense for another community meeting, but if they've had one, I missed his presentation. He did have, there was one, and okay.
Hold on. Well, they're indicating that there was not. So do we know? Hold on.
I thought that the council member had indicated that, but I don't have it.
We can
I don't know.
find out from the council member.
He committed to having a public hearing before it got to council. If there has not been one, I know that he did say that. So I don't know if that was an additional or the only.
And so hold on, everybody. It's okay. Hold on. We'll get to the bottom of this. So the council member is new. Council members, I know Councilman Spain. I know he's a man of his word and honor, but and I know that he loves working with neighbors. So, I feel like since the neighbors are saying there wasn't a clear, and since it's a new council member, I think maybe to me personally, we always try to err, the commission always tries to err on the side of having community meetings, and Vice Chair knows that, and the director, we generally over community meet, and I think that's a good thing. And so we always, I think with new council members, given time, that it's not, and since the bill has not been filed, that may be a deferral. Commissioner Tibbs knows this too. We generally really want communities to communicate with the council members and the developers. So I feel like this is moving in the right direction, and the neighborhood knows that, but there needs to be some communication on ingress, egress, some water issues, and some other things with the developer and I know the developer. Sometimes they're on a timeline. I get that, But I feel like there's a solution here. Vice Chair?
I was just going to say, I mean, once we have a zoning approved and we have a subdivision plan in front of us, then it's a more complicated process for us. So, I mean, this is where we have a chance to make sure the community's voice is heard. So I would support a deferral in order to have a community meeting, but I will defer to you on when it's right to make a motion.
Well, and commissioners, sometimes, for the new commissioners too, we have a lot of new commissioners. So sometimes we'll close our public hearing and then have another meeting. And many times we don't close the public hearing. I do believe in this particular instance, they need to meet and probably not close our public hearing so that we can get more input if there's more questions from the community. So just FYI for the new commissioners, sometimes we do a mixture depending on the circumstance. So Vice Chair, do you want to make a motion for, and Lisa, if we did a 2-meeting deferral, would that be?
There's no council legislation.
Okay, so.
But one meeting, well, we don't have a second meeting in January, and so a 2-meeting deferral would push this to February 22nd. A 1-meeting deferral would push it to February 8th because we only have 1 meeting in January. Just oftentimes, if you all ask, is 1 meeting deferral enough? It's not, because it's such a short time frame, but because we only have 1 meeting in January, the next meeting is a month away.
Lisa, given that the more technical review would come later, and this is a determination about whether the proposed zoning meets the policy, is it your advice that we just recommend 1 meeting?
Yes, I mean, yes. Even with the deferral, there's going to be technical questions that we're not going to be able to answer because that's not the phase of review that we're in. We're reviewing against land use policy, which is your role here.
All right, given those facts.
I will make a motion that we defer this item 1 meeting until the February 8th.
With the intent of
With the intent of asking the council member to convene a public hearing.
With the developer and the
public meeting with the developer.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second?
Is the public hearing?
Public hearing is still open here.
Leave the public hearing
reopen
open.
the public hearing.
Yes.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. 1 meeting deferral. Thank you all for coming down. So that concludes our regular business. We are on H under other business. And so, commissioners, we don't do this often, but we've had some turnover, and so we, Commissioner Johnson, Mina Johnson, who served on the historical commission for us. So as planning commissioner, we have open seats. We have one in parks, we have a board seat, and then we have a board seat in the historical commission. And so that leads us to, we will need to fill the vacancy for the planning commission representative for the Metro Historic Zoning Commission. And as y'all know, just in general, that historical zoning commission reviews applications within the designated historic districts of Nashville, such as preservation and conservation districts, which we have many of those. And so it's a really important body. And I know Commissioner Tibbs has been on that for a long time. And so we do need to, do we have someone that would like to make a nomination? Commissioner Tibbs.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, only befitting that I would make it. And I'd like to make my esteemed neighbor here, Matt Smith, for the Historical Zoning Commission.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Now we're on discussion. And it's a lot of time as well. So he's new, and
it's easy peasy. It's easy peasy. Come on.
It's a proper motion, proper second, and I do want to say thank you, Mr. Smith, if you're willing to serve, and also just for other commissioners, if you're interested in serving in these roles, let us know. Let the director know, and so I appreciate that. That's a proper motion, second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Mr. Smith, our very own, for serving on the Historic Zoning Commission, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And congratulations, Mr. Smith. All right, and so that leads us to, Mr. Smith doesn't have a report, I know, but Parks, Commissioner Hanley.
Yes, well, as a fellow commissioner serving on another board, it is an honor that keeps on giving. So, congratulations for that. But I say that a little tongue in cheek, but I am excited. We have the Greenways and Open Space Commission is another commission I'm invited to due to my honor of serving on the Parks Board. And so we have that calendar that was just released. And so we will be able to commiserate together and talk about how our calendars get crowded. But I am looking forward to the discussions because, again, I highlighted it earlier in our meeting, the efforts that are being made by Parks and Greenways in concert with planning are really improving our city, I think, with a lot of the policies that we're putting in place and being able to have that collaborative effort. A lot of good is being done, even though we may not recognize it for a few years, but being a part of it and seeing the good that's being done, I'm excited.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Executive Committee, Vice Chair, I don't think we have anything to report at this moment, other than Happy New Year. Right, okay. Director, any updates?
I do. Thank you all for your service. I'm grateful to you. I wanted to introduce a new staff member, Andy Torlister. Can you raise your hand or stand up? So Andy joins the department after many, many years of working in the Northern Virginia, Washington metro area, an area I'm very familiar with, and welcome her to the department. She is taking on the big task of filling in the shoes of Lisa Milligan, who was promoted to an assistant director position. And the department, we went over our org chart with you last time we had a work session, so you've been able to see how we're evolving. And I think you've heard me say probably many times, my goal is to ensure that we have an outstanding department that is doing planning work at every scale. And when you expand the staff numbers and resources, it's an honor to serve the city in that way. And it also means that we have to rethink sort of the way that we build our teams. And what that has meant are different opportunities for staff like Lisa, who've been here for a long time and guided the commission. And anyway, we welcome Andy, and I know that her experience in the Washington area, which does lots and lots of open space kind of greenways planning, will be something that we benefit from. And so just join me in welcoming her.
Welcome, and we appreciate you joining the team.
Thank you.
All right, we're excited. Council Lady, legislative report.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing big other than our compact development legislation is still planned for public hearing at the Metro Council on our first meeting in February, which is February 6th. And it'll be welcome to discuss at that public hearing.
Thank you, Council Lady. Appreciate you doing that for us. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.